program. This is a wrap up of. Okay, it says we live. We should be in business. Let's check out the YouTubes. All right, it says we live on the YouTubes. All right. All right, let's go. Get these lights together. I got a couple of new things for lights. And I want to see how that works. Do-do-do. Do-do-do. I went and bought a whole disco light. Well, thank you for not being late today. No, I apologize for harassing you. You know what I mean? You know I'm very disciplined about being on time. So anytime that I've been late on this, it's bothered me. I need some water. I'm thirsty. And yeah, I apologize for last. Hey, check this out though. I almost overslept this week too. So he's been God. And it's wild that I tried to set an alarm for 6 o'clock. And I naturally woke up at 6:39, something that's like that. So that's how you know I was asleep. I killed that water. Okay. I ain't gonna okay. I want that light on. This light on, that light off. All right. See how this works. It's gonna be super dope in the wintertime though, because it's darker. And I'm not changing the time. It's pretty good right now. Consistent. 7 o'clock. And then I won't have to worry about changing it based on the seasons and people trying to keep up with that. Don't worry. It's 7 every day. Every Tuesday and Thursday. Man, listen. I always do. I drink a lot of water. I was like a month or so I was stuck on this tea concoction I made up. But I really was seeing how sugar keeps you from losing fucking weight because I could not. I'm like, yo, why am I not losing weight? Like, listen, once I decide to lose weight start falling off of me. Period. So I'm one of those people. Once I can think about losing weight and start losing weight. Now I don't work the same for muscle definition. I got to definitely do some push-ups, but yeah. So once I gave that a pause, no lie, I ain't drink it. When I went to where was I? Virginia. I just pretty much drank whole water. I mean, water all the time at the hotel and shit. So, and I lost probably about 4 pounds that week, 5 pounds that week, and they just been staying off now. So I ain't been drinking. And then I went to boop, 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 boop. I know that's probably back. Oh, it might not be backwards to you all, but I think I got that flip the screen thing on anyway, so you can read it. Boop, boop, boop. So I took me a candle making class, another candle making class, but I did it with my mama, and this time my mother and my brother. But this time I just went out there because that candle finally about burnt out. Yeah, so that's what I think. So I did that camera flip, so nothing would be backwards and y'all can read it. It's not like an iPhone, Samsung. iPhone people be having everything backwards. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you. So this is the vessel I chose. It was giving me rich like blood. I don't know why. And I think I probably pretty much made the same scent because I love the biscotti cookies. So I'm not going to use that again whenever I go out there. No biscotti. But it is a mix of those biscotti, almond biscotti. Hey, I see you loving your Samsung now too. Ooh, you use a CapCut, but Samsung got a lot of FX and stuff. They let you do. As a matter of fact, when I do my editing for a lot of the videos, I just do that shit on my phone. Well, for those reels and shorts and all that other stuff. Now, I mean, of course, I got other stuff to do it, but sometimes I just take you want the 24th next. I'm gonna wait because they've been saying it isn't as. I mean, it's not a lot difference from the 23. And no bullshit. I still got my Note 20, my Note 20 Ultra. And I know, listen, I got a Note 8 over there on the table. And the next phone that I really got after that, hey, Melton, I think one of my old coworkers found me on TikTok. And you was right. So my TikTok videos been doing numbers lately as I start showing more about showing me more. I don't know. That's just crazy. Because that last video did 1,700 or something. I don't know. That's good for me. That might not be a lot for other people, but that's great for me when my first video was like 290 and get crap. So, but it is that almond biscotti. Yeah, that's what I'm using now, Note 20 Ultra. So, they don't even make notes no more. Because I love that pen. And I know they own the S now, so they combine them. So I got to get the S with the pen, and I'm straight right now. That pen come through, I'll be out. I get an idea for a show. Screw this, screw this. I got a whole section of notes in my phone that's show ideas or things I want to talk about. And I ain't got no paper. And okay, so really, what made me stick with Samsung? Oh, if you say that's what you got, then you your phone do everything I do. Girl, start using your phone. That's just an amazing phone, really. And at this point, it's obsolete. But it's the almond biscotti. And then I got some chai for a little spice to it, and something called starry lime. I don't know. I was going on. It spelled kind of spicy in my place right now. So I was trying to stick along with that scent, and I don't know. I was just feeling the blood against the couch, just whatever. Yeah, somebody came over here to visit me the other day. So it smelled like a holistic store up in here. Valid, it does, because hey, I'm on scents and waves. And scents definitely produce waves. So I guess I'll stop jabbering. Well, I ain't done jabbering yet, because I ain't even showed you the other parts. Yeah, so I'll be doing them spiritual journeys up in here. So I got some extra lights. This thing keep trying to say, trying to reconnect. Well, It's not keep trying to say. It is literally saying trying to reconnect. Trying to reconnect. Uh-huh. Now the last new light. I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Um, you know how we talked about that normalizing things about ourselves that's abnormal. I think I've normalized my whole state of being. Okay, so that's what else I forgot to show you. Let's see how we're gonna do this. So, boop, boop, boop. All right. So I got this little Earth over here, but it ain't no Earth, but it is. There's a galaxy on the inside of this ball. And you see that light flattering off. And I'm gonna put that there instead. And let me see. I ain't cut those lights off because I done up the game up. Blim. And then we always do. See, I still got my Note 8. So I don't care what nobody says about about an iPhone. If I'm still using a Note 8, I don't even know what year that was out. But matter of fact, my daddy was alive. Oh yeah, you see the lights, but that ain't even it. I ain't even I don't know if you can tell, so I'm gonna have to take you over there. But I done showed out all the way out. No, you can see the lights on the ceiling, but you can't see them everywhere else. I done took it too far with old disco like didn't I? Right? But when I'm taking those spiritual journeys, taking people on their spiritual journey, that is going to. It actually did come in handy because I did one last week or something. Yeah, we still working on the setup, so it just changes and changes and changes, and it makes it changes, and so that's the new one. All right, you can tell. I like it. Yeah. Do. Let's see. Does that work? Thank you. Oh, the disco ball still going. Wow. I'm about to cut it off. I think. Ooh. Okay, so I don't even remember where we are in this story. I don't remember what was going on. I don't remember anything. I guess that week off last week was one to help me forget. Where is it? Okay. I probably should have did this before I got on there. Ain't that app called Read Ever? And did we read Lucretia and the Croons? I know we read that Ballad of Black Tom. Dum, 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 dum. I'm mess around and read uh the Aquarian Gospels of Jesus the Christ on y'all. Have y'all learned about have y'all learned about Jesus? He did it for me. Okay, so Okay, so we're in the protest after they killed, was that George Floyd? And no, we haven't read that yet. Okay, so yeah. Um I think she might will call me what's dude name in this book, Dissatisfied. Cause I think it's a cool book. But um I just kinda think it's dragging on. So I'll give your boy what's his name? The sentence is yeah. Um the croon dude, the Lavelle dude, I give him props. Because he knows how he does a good. I guess they're novellas, so he does a good job at being concise and getting it in there. And as a matter of fact, he can make his books a little bit longer because they get a little muddled up in certain parts because he's trying to, you know what I mean? Not to have this long book. Now this, I get it, I get it, and it ain't even a spook. Not saying it's not spooky enough. It's yeah, it's they definitely goddamn dragging it. Cause we still got like 1,000 pages left, and we read this book for 6 weeks. All right, here we go. The Sentence by Louise Erdrich. Excuse me. Um, Jarvis drank a sip of water from the bottle, napped for about an hour, then opened his eyes and frowned up at me. Nothing had prepared me for what it felt like when a baby on your chest stares at you from right below your chin with a look of intense disappointment. His expression told me that by not being Hedda, I had failed him in every way. I reached into the baby bag, pulled out a chill bottle, ran hot water over it to warm it just enough. I did not remove Jarvis from the carrier, although his tiny mouth turned down at his brow, furrowed in despair. I know it's terrible, little one, I said in my most tender voice, but I'm Tookie, and I've got your mom's milk. You shouldn't growl at a baby, and what you said sounded creepy. Jackie came out of the office. She wore one of those blue paper masks that were hard to get. Her hair was swirled on top of her head in a beady clip. Her eyes were made up with swoopy eyeliner, and her brows were strong and full. I marveled that she fixed herself up just to be alone. Oh, can it, boss? Can't you see I'm a freaking novice? You're doing great. You're natural, she said as Jarvis fell into utter objection. When he opened his mouth to wail, I gently inserted the nipple of the bottle. He was suspicious, then outraged. He wanted to bluster, but tested out a drop, but tasted a drop of milk and, in his surprise, agreed to be fed. He finished the entire bottle, pressed his head against my heart. Shouldn't you change his diaper before he falls asleep? He's got on one of those high-tech diapers, I said, although he was heavy in the bottom and I could feel the patch damp. All right, I'd smell baby pee, but I'd passed my first test. Also, I passed my first test as a solo grandma with no previous child handicapped too. I fed a baby and I put him to sleep. Who could argue? I was less than awful. I curved my hand around Jarvis' tiny body and sat back down at the computer. There was nothing from Meta. By late afternoon, I changed his diaper thrice, fed him his second bottle. I took him up to the play loft for exercise. We rolled around together on the floor. Jackie looked on, but she was too scrupulous about the virus to touch him. Jarvis now gave startled belly laughs, when I shook my head and flung my hair around. I did that over and over, and every time I got a laugh. Then out the blue, he started whimpering. I exhausted my bag of tricks, but his whimper only grew more intense. If he'd even squeaked before, I'd simply turn him over the header. His face crumpled, and he began to roar. Now there was something so wrong that I was paralyzed. Maybe he'd swallowed poison. Maybe he had twisted an intestine. Maybe there was a pin sticking in him. Where? I checked them all over, ever more frantic. I couldn't find the source. Jackie, what do I do? Babies cry. Just hold him and jiggle him. Jackie put her hands up and shut the door to the office. I heard the fan go on full blast. 20 minutes by the clock, an eternity in my nerves. The violent agonies of my grandson entered my heart and my chest squeezed around a red lump of misery. Jackie peeked out once and told me she used to sing. I started a song without thinking. You can have it all, my empire of dirt. And Jackie said, maybe don't sing. She closed the door again. Eventually, Jarvis simmered down, and then I felt his tiny body relax and go heavy. However, if I sat down, he stirred. I had to keep moving, and this became a problem. I couldn't use the computer unless I swayed back and forth. I spent the last hour of work packing boxes, two-stepping in place. It was exhausting. No wonder Hedda was so skinny. Excuse me, what's that? Oh, yeah. Like, what's the climax? Exactly. Like, not even necessarily the climax, because they can get to the climax a little bit and spend time there. You know what I mean? But they done went from the ghost haunting to George Floyd. Now we're reading all about it's not a bad book, but I ain't gonna be like, oh, that was a great book. And it's definitely too long for all this bullshit. Excuse my language. Oh God, excuse me. After work, Pollux met me coming out the door, and together we strapped Jarvis into his highly engineered baby seat. It looked like something from a space rocket. I wish I had one of these, I said. I'd go to Mars. Have you heard from Hedda? She had texted Pollux in the beginning, but we hadn't heard from her for a few hours. It was 6 now. As we drove, he told me how he could tell that she left her phone somewhere, probably in Asima's car. Neither of us had Asima's location. The march is at the third precinct now. They said they wouldn't go that far. I examined my phone again. I didn't want to bug Hedda because I wanted her to trust that she could leave her baby with me and not be harassed. Jarvis was awake in the back, but quiet. He guzzled his last bottle with an air of reserved acceptance, keeping a watch eye on me. We got home, settled Jarvis into the contraption. What? The contraptiony lounge bed that he bounced and had an archway decorated with dangling toys. Hedda had tapped into a post-baby equipment exchange. New things kept appearing. Dial Hedda's number again, I said. I'll thaw a pack of milk. After 6 calls in an hour or so, she answered, and I could hear her say, I'm okay, don't come get me. On their way back to the car, she said, no, I thought I'd seen a comment. I wanted to slump over and take a nap, but I was standing up again and had a baby on me. Pollux put his arms around me from behind. He looked over my shoulder, startling Jarvis. Maybe he thinks I've grown an extra head. A big ugly one, said Pollux. Jarvis broke out a gummy smile of joy and gazed long at Pollux. I could feel Pollux working his eyebrows up and down. Babies love me, he said. I don't know why. Me too. Listen, I can just talk and babies be quiet. Said, "You're a giant baby with caterpillar eyes. What's not to love?" Maybe that's what they see. He smoothed his eyebrows with his fingers. "I'd look more like a baby if I shaved them off. Oh, Pollux, you're one beauty. If if only I could have given you a little papoose like this one. Aren't we still trying? I might have a rogue egg or two left in me." "Hush your mouth," said Pollux. "Little ears, I'll help you get out of that thing." Pollux unhooked the baby carrier from behind. I held on to the baby, and Pollux lifted the carrier away from my body. He cradled Jarvis, jounced. What? I don't even know what jounced is. I'm going to have to look that word up. Jounced around with him, sat down in the easy chair to jiggle him while I fixed us beers and peanut butter sandwiches, choke butter sandwiches. I found some weird peach jelly and brought it out on the side. Pollux was looking at his phone and said he'd have to go meet up at the powwow grounds later on. I opened my mouth to argue, but the tension in his eyes when he saw the sandwiches stopped me. "I'm going to make pancakes when she comes back," he said, taking a tiny bite of the sandwich. "Pancakes with smiley faces, the way she likes them." I wanted to tell Pollux that as far as I knew, Hedda hadn't eaten smiley pancakes for years, but I held my tongue. His face was quiet and he was closed in, the way he got when he was worried. The boulevard. Hedda curled around her baby. She was home. He fit perfectly against her body. He was her source of primal joy. Why had she left him? Her arms and legs were watery and weak and with spent adrenaline. She shifted closer to her baby on the flat, fold-out bed. She really needed the nursing endorphins. She really needed diazepam of some kind, any kind. She really needed her heart to stop galloping, her ears to stop buzzing, her head to stop headaching. She had taken a long shower and changed into clean clothes, then stripped them off and showered again. Her eyes still hurt, her face burned, her throat. She was worried tear gas would get into her milk. For the most of it, for most of the way, it was regular march. She saw a woman in brown tatters and a hand drum, fake Indian, singing Wo Na Wa. Asima reached over and snatched away her drum. "What are you?" laughed Hedda. "I'm the drum police," said Asima. She put the drum in her pack and kept walking. They paced beside a poised lady with gray hair wearing red sheath dress, holding her hands with masked, balding husband in a suit and tie. The march went on, gathering, snaking, and folding until the crowd formlessly collected itself near the end. As they marched across railroad tracks and up the street, Asima became alarmingly energized. She surged forward and started running down the pavement, then through a parking lot toward the 3rd Precinct station. They got separated for a while and had a trip, went sprawling across the grassy strip of the boulevard. Her milk came down and wet the front of her shirt. Someone was rolling away from underneath her. There was a man in a dangling earrings and a ripped cowboy shirt helping her up. No, helping her up. A woman in hot yellow overalls and blonde dreads to her waist jumped to her feet and bent forward, hoarsely calling. There were explosions, then smoke. A person running through tear gas, like a deer suddenly collapsed. All the people with children had peeled off a mile ago, and Hedda wished she had gone with them. Ahead of her, Asima with her hands held up high disappeared into a cloud. A girl in a hijab, maybe 12 years old, darted forward and kicked the canister back at the police. Something so excruciating it didn't register as pain streamed into Hedda's eyes and lungs. Tear gas went for the moisture on her sweaty skin, her nipples. Someone turned, that sucks. Someone turned her over and poured water over her face and eyes. Please, had a gas to the point at her chest. Someone was gasping and gagging, panicking, lost. It was herself. A storm of legs around her, ferocious noises, thud, scream. Someone pulled her to a clear place and she returned to her body. Through flooding tears, she realized that the person was Laurent. He held her head with steady, tender hands and tipped water into her eyes. A pair of swimming goggles was pushed up his forehead and his swatch of hair stuck straight up. He was wearing long sleeves and gloves. His bandana was down around his neck. He pulled another one, blue, and dabbed Heather's face. You okay now? No. He smoothed the hair back and tipped more water on her face. Heather grabbed his wrist and blinked at him. Asima's still back there, she said. Laurent kissed his fingers, touched it to her nose, and was gone. Hedda had loved when Pollux did that, but always hated that gesture when she saw it in the movies. Why? Patronizing. Like she was a little kid, and yet she clung to that blue bandana. It's wild how people internalize things and they can be such negative experiences, even with the best intentions. I can see if somebody's doing that to shut you up, but no. Asima finally came through the cloud. Together they staggered across the parking lot and found another grass boulevard further from the precinct. No Laurent. Hedda poured water from her pack over Asima's eyes, blinking up through the tricklets. Asima gasped as she was going back to fight. Hedda threatened to slug her. Fuck you, promise. Asima didn't want to leave, but Hedda made her leave. They started walking back to the Forester, debating whether they should try to get a lift, but because of COVID, deciding it was too risky. Their feet swelled, their armpits burned, their skin. The walk seemed endless. Hedda wetted the bandana and tied it around her neck. She regretted the chucks because no arch support. Pregnancy had wrecked her feet. Fuck 12, Asima kept saying. They shot the shit at us. At last, they reached the car and made it home. And now she lay with her baby waiting for sleep. A mixture of images surged up and diminished. Her mind flickered with sound and colors, then went gray. She startled. The crazy schemes from yesteryear that started up whenever she was half asleep, bad hookups, drunk customers, stalker dates, a controlling boss, a sadistic boyfriend, and her own curiosities that cost her so much bulged into her mind, then collapsed. Laurent sneaked in, but she channeled the word ambivalence, and the last she sank and was covered with cottony snow. Jarvis, my little love, I will never leave you. The pictures of the past mixed with today's pictures flashed like raindrops in the streetlight. She felt coldly and the squalor and the drama of it all she'd raged against, caused, or suffered in her life. May 28th. Asima woke panting with ire. She texted Tookie that she'd be late for work, then realized it was 3 a.m. She stumbled into the shower. The last of a itchy grime of the march flowed away, and she began to mourn. She had felt them, the dead, very close. A grandmother from Leech Lake had called George Floyd our relative, and she had prayed for our relatives who were long ago brought to this land against their will. During the march, Seema had been overwhelmed by a radiant warmth of other people. Fury shot through her stomach when she saw the riot gear police. They made themselves look inhuman, invulnerable, faces behind shield, anonymous armor. The very sight of how they got themselves up like stormtroopers meant to Asima that they were cowards. She was more furious than scared, But at first, She hadn't realized they were shooting marker rounds, tear gas canisters, rubber bullets. She ran to the front line and threw her hands up to shield the others before she understood what was coming at her. The canister had landed at her feet, and she stumbled as she tried to move away from the boiling chemical smoke. Then, after she had tried so hard to do everything right, the sanitizing, the mask, the spraying down of the groceries, the distance, everything. In the moment she ripped off her mask, fled, coughed out, and sucked in other people's breath. And now she was scared. She had been among hundreds of people. Now she'd get the virus. Asima went outside and sat down on one of the dark back stoop, 3 wooden steps that led down to a little vegetable garden. Last year, the squash vine had grown from its dirt box out across the mold weeds and scuffed earth that made their lawn. It was homey sort of lawn, a useful lawn. There was a fire pit, a rickety charcoal grill, a new lattice arbor, and a metal shepherd's crook holding a bird feeder with a lone sparrow on it. There were lawn chairs made of sagging wooden woven plastic, a scratch picnic table, a cheerful cantina, the cheerful cantina lights, birthday parties, graduations, baby showers. There was a residue of joy in their tattered yard. Around 6 a.m., she walked 6 blocks over to the memorial and helped arrange scattered bouquets along the wall where an image of George Floyd had been painted. Further on, closer to the precinct, there were people out sweeping up glass, picking up trash. She grabbed the broom, started sweeping too. Night. We stayed up watching familiar places burn. Every so often, one of us would murmur as we recognized the box store, grocery store, restaurant, liquor store, pawn shop. There was scene after scene of people silhouetted against flames. Hedda was texting Nasima, who was not who was not answering. There were all sorts of people out there now. Black, white, brown, ordinary, sorrowful, and infuriated. Hedda said people were seeing white supremacist action. The fires were across town, but close by there were fireworks, sirens, helicopters, the incoherent roar of conflict, pops of gunfire, engines revving, tearing through the streets, motorcycles, more fireworks and shots, sometimes near and sometimes far. The lights were up and down our leafy streets of the 1970s and 80s ranch-style houses, some expensively renovated. There were a few older, smaller, idiosyncratic wood frame houses like ours that must have been hand-built during the 1930s. There's a fire truck, I said. We were using our laptops and phones trying to figure out what was happening. On one screen, there was a constant replay of the night before when a giant white man in a bizarre black headgear appeared. He carried a sledgehammer, smashed the window of an AutoZone. A slim black man in a pink shirt tried to stop him, then followed him through the parking lot across from the police station. We saw half-constructed apartment buildings with affordable housing units collapse and more silhouettes of people dancing in the flames. Was that Laurent? I think that is him, Hedda said. Hedda faced Jarvis towards the screen. See, it's Daddy. Her voice thunked. And to think, she muttered, I'm the one who taught him how to start a fire. You really think he's starting fires? I asked. He's more into earnest scratchings and hammocks anyway. I thought you were getting skinny shanks out of your life. Me too, but sometimes I look at Jarvis. Am I enough? Of course you enough, said Pollux. But unless this kid is actually Wendigo, I wouldn't cut him out of your baby's life. I know that's right. Kids need father. I knew the two of them had to be thinking of Heather's mother, dead now, like mine. Heather's face cleared and she said, you two would have made good parents together. What do you mean would have, said Pollux. We're here with you. Plus, you know, we might still be trying. Not to worry. Child, We're over platonic, said Pollux. Sometimes we hold hands in bed, but just to fall asleep. That's the only picture I need, said Hedda. I could think of you as a romantic, but in an abstract way. I know you go way back, maybe to when you were kids, so I like to picture a pleasant friendship. But really, she paused. How did you decide to get together? I mean, you've told me the story about meeting in the parking lot 100 times, but what came before? Before? Before, I found myself at a loss. Where to start? And Pollock seemed equally uncomfortable. He eventually said in a low voice, I guess you could say that we had a professional relationship. Professional on your part, at least, I said. I put my hand on my chest and closed my eyes. I have a dinosaur heart. Cold, massive, indestructible, a thick, meaty red. And I have a glass heart, tiny and pink, that can be shattered. The glass heart belongs to Pollux. There was a ping. To my surprise, it had developed a minute crack, nearly invisible, but it was there and it hurt. Our voices grew hushed. We were watching a live screen from Unicorn Ride. Last I looked, the police had been shooting tear gas and rubber bullets down off the roof into the crowd. Now police cars in an orderly, jaw-dropping line started moving slowly toward the 3rd Precinct parking lot. Pollux put his hands up to his face and said he'd never seen anything remotely like what was happening. And I'm sure. The police were still pulling away in a motorcade down the street. Soon came the scenes of the shattered glass at the police station, police walking through drifts of paper inside the precinct, water pouring from sprinklers, the lawless exuberance. I looked at Pollux. Okay, cool. The action on the screen was reflecting on his face. They were fucking up the station. I carefully hid my expression as I bent toward the laptop. I was trying to contain a surprise bubble of exultation, bobbing in the anger I have always tried to keep bottled up. Fury lived in me under pressure. Maybe that's the way to think about it. Fury lives in me under pressure. Now it all started going off inside my body like popped corks. The rage, champagne, and feral glee were forming out. I slowly got up and slipped into the kitchen, then out the door and down the stairs. I lowered myself into the grass, and pretty soon I started rolling around. I sat up a minute, panting, looked both ways, but no one was watching. I threw myself back down and kept rolling the shit off myself. Assault by COs, hand offhand blows, shoves, kicks, contempt. All of the times I was treated like a piece of nothing dirt by a cop or someone in a uniform. More bubbles brimmed up in me. Some were tears. After a while, I went back into the house. The mood was dark. There was nobody stopping anybody from doing anything at all now. To Pollux and Hedda, it was like a crack had opened in the earth. Is this good old Minneapolis? Can this be Minneapolis? Hedda kept saying. It's Minneapolis, goddamn, said Pollux. Down by the river, Minneapolis, said Hedda. I told her about the interrogations there. I know it's a fucked up town, but it's my fucked up town, said Pollux. It's freaking me the fuck out, said Hedda. Only Jarvis and I were taking this well. Babe, like, shit. Where the milk? He ain't worried about none of this. He say, where the milk at? Oh, God. People are fed up, though, said Hedda, watching her Twitter feed. Those little restaurants had great soup, I said. Too bad George Floyd won't taste any. The police are maxed out, said Pollux, ignoring me. The firefighters are maxed out. Some of those places are just going to burn. They're going to be hard for everybody who lives around there to even buy a toothbrush. Elders with no rides live there. But fuck, people have had it. His last sentence was sarcastic. Pollux turned on us. That's not all righteous anger out there, he said. Some of the looters are pros. It happens all the time. And the fires are taking everything now. You're not working tomorrow, said Pollux to me, right? We're playing it by ear, I said. There was a sentence. Hmm? There was a sentence people were chanting all over the world now. I can't breathe. I wanted to run out the door again. Did you board up the store? Asked Hedda, still scrolling. Uptown's looted. There's action in the Hennepin. I mean, the store's not that far away. No. Mom, you can't go to work. She called me mom again. I thought coming back to Earth, and this time she didn't want anything. Suddenly, Hedda jumped and threw her phone down on the couch. Abolish the police, she said, looking hard at Pollux. He'd been dozing and put his head up slowly and blinked at her. You don't know what you're saying, my girl. I mean, the police are abolished for the moment. You like what's happening? And more than in a more just world, this wouldn't be happening, Dad. They tear gas the same in me. They're killers. They keep on and keep on killing black and brown people. Our people, Dad. Okay, sweetheart, said Pollux. He could hardly see straight. He was so tired. We got a good police chief in Arredon. Arredondo. I know they're Union's chiefs. Pollux kept talking as though he could reason this away. They're still hiring from outside the city. This Chauvin, he was from some burb. Hedda was burstingly mad. She screwed her lips shut and panted through her nose, seethed and barked loudly. I'm sure you would have stopped Derek Chauvin. 3 other cops were there, one even black. But I'm sure you would have stopped Derek Chauvin. Pollock scrubbed his face with his palms, rubbed his eyes with the heels of his hands, shook his head like he was coming out of a dream. His voice was too gentle. I hope I would have. But you never know what you're going to do until you're in that situation. Until the world is a better place, we need cops, daughter. Hedda lowered her head and stared at her from under her brow. Her lower lip drooped. Her eyes were black slash marks. Were you in this situation? Ever? Were you, Dad? Hedda, I was a words cop. I was out with the AIM patrol last night. Frank Parr was in charge now. Clyde Bellacourt just appointed him a couple weeks ago. Really good man. This is community work like you want, right? We don't carry guns, most of us. Well, I don't know. Pollux paused with a troubled stare. After all this, some of us might have to. But we try to talk it out, soothe it down. So on a possible fake bill, this would not happen. Did you hurt? Did you hurt anybody? Hedda. Not like that. But like what? Pollux got up and left the room. We could hear the refrigerator open and shut, drawers rattled, water gushed. Soon we smelled coffee. He's going to come back out here with a plate of sandwiches or something, said Hedda. But he's not going to buy me off. But he's not going to buy me off with a couple of slabs of cheap ham. He can buy me off, I said, if there's cheese. Me too, like that. I don't know ham sandwich, but boy, you give you cheese. I love cheese. I'm over here thinking about cheese in a few. Where am I at? Or even mayo, said Hedda. You come cheap like the ham. Mustard. But he's my, excuse me. You come cheap like the ham, but he's my dad. He's got a level with me. Mustard, but it's too late for this, I said. We shouldn't go there. We'll be sorry in the morning. It is morning, said Hedda. And when has being sorry in the morning ever stopped you? I had to think for a while. Never, I said. Pollux came back out with a plate of sandwiches and 3 coffee mugs looped in his fingers. He went back into the kitchen, brought out the coffee pot, poured us some coffee, and went back. I lifted a piece of bread to Pete and nodded. He loaded the sandwiches. Let's eat these before he come back, I said. I'm not touching a goddamn bite. I lifted one and brought it to my mouth. But before I could chomp down, Heather spoke. How did you two meet? That professional thing. Not really an answer. Oh, it wasn't? Oh, wasn't it? I put down the sandwich. I had become extremely hungry. Your dad arrested me, I said. Now can I eat my sandwich? Heather gasped. Well, fuck yeah, eat that piggy. These kids is crazy. I grabbed the sandwich and stuffed my mouth, glaring at the computer screen where a young man was narrating flames and mayhem, bottles flying past his head. The third precinct was now enveloped in golden fire. What if Moon Palace, or even Uncle Hugo's, or Dreamhaven's bookstore burned? Heather might say books were just property. Stores too. That's sure. Every small enterprise was somebody's dream. But George Floyd had lost his dream. It didn't fit together so neatly when it got this personal. All I could think about was pages curling in waves of flame. Pollux came back in the room. For a while, Heather didn't speak. Pollux and I chewed our sandwiches slowly as if in a state of intense deliberation. I was mesmerized by the destruction. Heather didn't touch her sandwich. I willed Jarvis to cry so Heather wouldn't get back into my business. Was that Jarvis? I said. I thought I heard him, but Heather had her baby monitor on her phone. Nope, said Heather. Baby J ain't gonna save you. I know that's right. Now let's get back to the rest where you met my dad. Pollux turned his eye on me. None of your fucking business. I picked up Heather's sandwich and took a bite. Sleep well, beautiful people. I walked up the stairs with the sandwich. In the bathroom, I threw it away. What a waste. And Pollux will see. I thought, looking at the sprawling thing lying grossly on some tissues and drained hair. Let him see it, I thought. Turning out the light, neither Pollux nor Heather could possibly understand what I was feeling now. As for the sandwich, it might seem a small thing to have done, but Pollux and I ate everything, even the coldest French fry. We never wasted food made with love, so the sandwich was a glaring signal. I drew the covers down and rolled in, but no sleep. My brain was like a lamp shining in the dark. In that circle, I saw my arm stretch across the table at Lucky Dog. I saw my fingers open, ready to whine with his fingers. But instead, he cuffs me up. Well, he didn't use cuffs. To be real about it, he used zip tie like you'd fasten on a bag of garbage. May 29th. Yeah. After an hour or so, I woke in the dark and realized that Pollux hadn't come to bed. For a fuzzy moment, I thought of going downstairs to catch him, probably from the couch. But then I understood he was gone. I could feel his absence from the house, but I did nothing. Sleep took me away again for a long time. The next morning, I felt like I had a hangover, an old-time hangover, as from the days of yore. I felt like someone was shooting off a space blaster in my head, and Jarvis was bawling. Pollux had left a note to say he had gone out last night. He owned a sidearm. It was so locked away that I'd seen it once, but I remembered it. Glock 19. I jiggled the door on the small gun safe, but couldn't tell if it was in there. However, the shotgun, which he kept in a case of molded plastic and which I had seen, was nowhere to be found. And I had a sick feeling about how I'd left him downstairs and the sandwich in the trash. Hedda was in her room with her screaming infant and I was glad. But it went on for a while, and I was sorry. So I knocked on the door. During during my sleep, a switch with a lot of complicated settings had been pushed to a different bar. It was a bar that connected me and Hedda in spite of it all, or because I sued for peace. I said, holding my arms out for the baby. Instead, Hedda putting her arms out and did an air hug. I'd hug you, but I was out there with the germs. She said, peace. I put a cup of hot coffee on the little table beside her bed. Jarvis was still crying, and a fog came in, rolling over me, erasing all time before now like a dream, with only a sharp with only the sharp edges poking out. To tell you the truth, I can't remember I can't remember half of what happened before I met your dad again by the kayaks. I said, sometimes I think I went mental. Who wouldn't? She said, I can tell you loved him. Love him. Yeah, I said. And then there were my years of free room and board. I walked outside to drink my coffee on the back steps. Pollux, I loved him and he put me away. No, he just arrested me, I thought. Judge Ragnick put me away. My brain wheels started spinning on this old track. How I'd been used to Danae and Mara. How I'd been used by Danae and Mara. What became of me after that? Only this time I decided that I quitted. If I can use that word, I think that eventually I acquitted myself pretty well. There was an initial fuck up. Then the next fuck up where I tried suicide by paper. After that, I decided to let paper save my life. That I was, yeah, that I was lucky to have been arrested by Pollux may have occurred to me. That he'd argued his colleagues into letting him take me in may have occurred to me. That I would have resisted arrest and could have been beaten or hurt or worse was also perfectly true. But this was a time of reckoning, and I was reckoning really hard along with everybody else. Along with my furtive joy, I was pissed off at Pollux, even knowing that for years he tried to make up for setting into motion my lost decade, which nevertheless taught me all that books could not. That's why she loved him and still got that underlying hate because he the one who arrested her and got her sent to jail. Well, he ain't get her sent to jail. She was out there being stupid though. Pollock startled me when he walked in late that morning. I saw no signs of weapons, but he probably stashed them in the garage. His hair was in strings, his eyes were red, his mouth was set in a tense line. He walked past me saying he would have to shower and put on a new mask. Now, in addition to my systematic resentment, I wanted to belt Pollux for having walked, excuse me, I wanted to belt Pollux for having walked old, asthmatic, achy bone, precious armed, for a bear onto Lake Street. Yet he was safe. I stepped toward Pollux in relief, but he waved me off. I asked what happened, but he just looked into the air. He started up the stairs. Halfway up, he turned around and told me that McGizzy had burned. McGizzy has been in existence for 40 years. A communications organization. It contained the history of urban indigenous people in this city. So it was, as I feared, a library had burned. McGizzy's building was brand new, a triumph for the community. The first night, it served as a triage center for people recovering from being tear gassed or injured during the protest. The second night, the AIM Patrol had successfully defended it from vandalism. But on the third night, embers from another fiery building had landed on its roof and burned it to the ground. Pogs had gone out when he got the message. It was a long night and a disheartening dawn. He burned sage, tried to comfort people, but he felt that he had failed. He didn't want to see or talk to anyone. Not that day. Oh, that was the end. And then we're gonna read another page. That wasn't, trust me, that wasn't the end of this book. But that was the end of a section. Popcorn and arson. I don't like how she splits up the chapters too. I don't. This be. Yeah. I was May 30th. I was worried about dissatisfaction. I mean, Roland. He hadn't ordered books for a while. I knew he lived somewhere in South Minneapolis where I delivered books to Florida. Jackie was at the store filling orders. I found Roland's number on an order list and called him. He answered on the second ring. Who is this? Tukey, bookstore lady. Oh, alphabet soup. Right. How are you? How do you think? I heard intense sadness in his voice. I have sons the age that George. I keep dreaming about him. I'm not myself, bookstore lady. Everything I thought of saying got stuck in my throat. Roland gave a scratchy, furious laugh. But you know, but you don't want to hear this. What you called me for? Maybe you don't have a damn thing left to read. He laughed again, but this time there was relief in it. You'd be right, he said. Where do you live? Why? Delivery. What do you got? Trust me. Trust is not my thing, but okay. He lived fairly close to Moon Palace, one of the bookstores I've been worried about. Although it was still standing, precariously untouched in the middle of destruction. I was surprised and asked why he didn't shop at Moon Palace. I do. Like to spread around my business. I said nothing. But he was old and maybe lived on a fixed income. I was moved that he used his finite cash to buy books. But then I remembered his Law Wolf vanity plate and thought he was a prosecutor. Still flush, whatever. He was in fact a customer in dire need, and I would rescue him with books. I filled a couple of boxes and drove down Franklin. We keep saying. I filled a couple of boxes and drove down Franklin Avenue to Powwow Grounds, which had become one of the organizing spots for Native people. The building is bright gold with a baby blue stripe and windows trimmed in red. It's a cheerful, proud, friendly building that contains an indigenous art gallery and a neighborhood organization, as well as a coffee shop that at various times sells chili, fried bread tacos, and fried bread pizza. You know I'd eat that fried bread pizza. I'd eat pizza. I love pizza. Wild rice soup and different types of pie. I'm parked in front of the mural. The counterpiece was an indigenous woman with a red handprint across her mouth. That image is about silence and the violence against us, Ecoag. But then there is a magic of flow of water from behind her braids that feed the animals, dancers, city people, the night sky, and the phases of the moon. The parking lot was jammed with cars. A champion reader, an artist, a philosopher named Al worked here. I parked, brought in a box of books, and was about to also leave a pint of precious hand sanitizer when an intimidating man, rock solid Asian, packing a well-secured gun, walked in with gallons of stuff. He put the bottles of sanitizer down like a sacred offering and walked out. I took my time arranging the books on the inside counter by the little free library. Al walked by and said, when's this thing over? We had to talk about Elaine Badu. Sure, I said after I looked him up. He waved and went behind the counter. People came and went. The gallery was filled with stacks of water, food, diapers, fire extinguishers. Pollux was in the parking lot talking to his buddies. I walked out and saw that he had his giant crock pot going on the fold out banquet table. It fit a couple of roasts, and I knew he'd scored a bison from Sessington guy. I was stabbed with such a pang of longing. It was hard to walk away. I went out into the street, got into the car. Then I rolled down the window to smell the rich sauce of the southern air. Pollock saw me. As I watched him walk towards me, hands alert at his belt like a gunslinger, my pang of longing became a physical ache. I have always loved seeing Pollux from a distance. He has a loose walk like he's ready to brawl. I know he isn't, wouldn't, but the walk of an old boxer trained to be light on his feet is a beautiful thing, even if he's got a few pounds on him. I couldn't help it. His walk drew me back out the car. What are you guys up to? My voice was neutral, giving him an in. I'm taking another shift with the patrol tonight. The hell you are. Alarm choked me. You took your damn shotgun out there. You could get killed. You've got a baby and your daughter at home. Not to mention me and your bum lung. What if you get sick? Who you calling bum lung? It's all outside. I'll mask up and don't worry. I just gave that shotgun away. Plus, I'll keep my distance. You damn well will keep your distance. I was mad I let my guard down, and so will I. Without another word, I got into the car intending to peel out. But I was parked in already and had to edge back with Pollux guiding me. It wasn't the dramatic exit I hoped for, and Pollux knew that. He was trying to keep a straight face as he beckoned me this way and that. I suspect that he might be getting me more stuck, but at last I edged through. By the time I pulled out, I was more upset for him than myself. Be careful, I shouted. He was already strolling away and had forgotten to get on his case about the other gun. Pick your battles, Tookie. I counseled myself and kept driving. I took a route that skirted the worst of the burning, but here and there I passed through rancorous broom. Roland Warren's house was a cream stucco bungalow surrounded by a chain link fence made opaque by green plastic strips of woven through the metal. Okay. He had his little free library, a tiny house on a sturdy post with window doors, a blue one painted with circles of clouds and jammed with books. I phoned him from the curb. Roland emerged. He was slower, thinner, maybe even fragile. He was using a cane. I'd never seen that. A fluffy brown and white dog went before Roland as he made his way down the steps, gripping the railing. The dog was like his personal attendant. I lifted the latch on the gate and brought a couple of books to the steps. Roland bent down and picked up some titles, nodded, and put them back. His dog gave me a careful assessing look and moved in front of Roland, guarding him. When Roland took his checkbook out of his shirt pocket, I told him there'd be no charge. We had a we had a standoff with him shaking the check at me and me refusing to take it. At last, I told him Jackie insisted. He has a lot of respect for Jackie's recommendations. He put the check and the checkbook back in his pocket. I was about to say goodbye when he asked, "How are you?" Hey, you made it just in time. Don't worry. And you know you can always press play. But we're about to wrap it up too. So Los, thanks for coming though. You know I always appreciate you here. Um, it took a moment. He never addressed me as a person. He might like to know. I'm all rolled up. I said, "What about you?" Everybody's asking how I am. You asked first. He flung his hand out, waved it around as if he was searching the air for words, then found his old self. What are you, a social worker? Don't worry. My daughter's down the street. He picked up a copy of the Charter House of Parma held it in his hand like he was weighing it, and finally said that he'd never read it. I pointed out the translation by Richard Howard. I'd pulled out all the stops and added everything to that box that might appeal. I'd broken Warren's rule on nonfiction and added white rage, which he handled gently. Grab a chair, sit down, he said. I'll spray my mitts with alcohol and pour you a glass of ice cold tea. That will go down nicely, I said. Listen, Gary, he said to the dog. This book lady's all right. Relax. Stay out here and get to know her while I get some tea. The dog was medium sized. Hmm. The dog was medium sized, the type of dog I'd seen in movies herding sheep. It was different from other dogs I'd encountered. It didn't bite me and didn't even seem to hate me. Gary watched me with neutral interest. I decided to talk to it the way Roland had. Gary, I'm going up the porch now, I said. I brought a couple folded lawn chairs down off the porch and set them in the grass. The dog stood up motionless. When Roland came out with the tea, I took my glass from him and we sat down together. Yeah. So how's the store? He asked. Not only had he never addressed me when looking for a book, but we had never had a conversation about the bookstore or a conversation not about books. I finished this. We're haunted, I told him. Firecrackers and bottle rockets were going off a few streets over. Now and then a helicopter ripped apart the air. I hadn't actually slept. My eyes burned, my thoughts were muffled. I was in a tough shape, but so was Roland. The ibuprofen wore off, and a band of pain started squeezing my head again. Haunted, he said. The whole damn city's haunted. I mean, literally, there's a ghost in the store. I'm not talking figuratively either. When I cast my mind over the city, I see lines and lines, red lines, blue lines, green lines. Red for the way they kept white neighborhoods white. Blue for I know I'm married to a cop. That must be complicated right now. It's not easy. Hell of a thing. We nodded and frowned into our glasses of iced tea, swirled the cubes. So what's going to happen? I asked. Let me consult my crystal ball. Roland held up an imaginary magic sphere and peered into the depths. It says there will be more of this everywhere and for a long time. It says this is another beginning. I've seen a lot of them. I believe that. I waited for him to go on, but he only said times like this, people become more human anyway. Mostly, that's a good thing. I asked how long he'd had Gary. 6 years. She was up and down the block, a stray that people fed. Finally, she settled on me. Strange thing, though. She looks just like the dog my family had when I was a little kid. That's why I call her Gary. She even has a piece of her ear chewed off. See? Roland carefully showed me the nick, just like old Gary. Gary narrowed her eyes and panted in pleasure as Roland scratched behind her ears. She seemed to be grinning at me, like she knew me. You know what? Said Roland. I wasn't really a prosecutor, just messing with you. Are you messing with me again? He laughed. I looked down at Gary. You're the first dog that ever smiled at me, I told her. I reached out my hand, but drew it back. I've been fooled too many times by fake smiles and sharp teeth. All right, we'll wrap it up there. All right. Well, since we missed last week, I think that was good. And went over a little bit, but not really over because I did all that jaw jacking in the beginning. Excited about my lights and my disco ball and all that. Oh man. Now I'm about to work on feeding myself. All right, people. I appreciate you again. Excuse me. I hope you oh no, I don't be hating on the books. I do give fair criticism. So like I don't say it's a bad book. It's not a bad book. I've read some bad books and I can't finish them. It's just a long drawn out book that could have been a lot shorter. You know what I mean? So I ain't gonna say it's a bad book. It's just dragging on. That's the truth. And it's not even necessarily compared to like the novella dude, the novellas that we read on here. But you know, I love chapter books too. Maybe it's my problem because I keep swearing I'm trying to get into adult graphic novels. Girl, I'm about to make me a sandwich. But you know my sandwich ain't finna be no regular sandwich. So I got me some sliced turkey. And I got me some, I made this barbecue mayo that I'm gonna put on there. And you know, all the works and stuff. Or I'm gonna give me a real sandwich because I'm talking about that grilled cheese. I was about to grill cheese it, but I ain't. I lied. Yeah, so and then I think I'll make me some garlic parmesan French fries because I got me some potatoes and throw them things in that air fry and life is going to be good. Yeah, it do look kind of sexy as I walk through here. Hey, I don't know. Pause. I feel like that. What they're not saying pause no more. No diddy. I gotta say no diddy to you. I always making special sauce. No diddy. I'm not always making special sauce. I am the sauce. Yeah. Because you know sometimes you be wanting a flavor and you can't like the sauce that's there. They ain't got it. They don't. It ain't the flavor that you're looking for. So most of those sauces be mayonnaise based, and they just put a bunch of other stuff in it. So I just start with mayonnaise, and I just be putting in whatever I want. I do a lot of garlic. I love garlic. So if this ever turns into we ever got some real vampires, I'm good. I probably exude garlic, but you won't smell it because I always smell delicious. For real. But I love garlic. So I always got some garlic in there. This time I did some and I didn't make my barbecue sauce, so I had some store bought because you know, of course, I'm making barbecue sauce too. But I just put some barbecue sauce in there. I did want a little smoke, so I did add like a couple of drops of liquid smoke, a little brown sugar, a dollop of honey, stirred that thing up, and bow, and we in business. But don't let me fool you and make you think that I just use this as a mayonnaise. Yeah, I'm dipping everything in French fries. Trust me, I'm about to put this on my bread and dip my fries in this. But anyway, now we have it sweet and savory. Exactly. Which is why I don't think I'm gonna put it on my bread. I think I'm just gonna use it to dip and I'm gonna just go with mayonnaise and mustard. But then I made what made me want to do a sandwich too, because I made them pickles um last week. I don't know if I let you sample them, but I used that was they banh mi recipe. You know those sandwiches where they pickle the carrots and the dagon that looks like white carrots and throw it on top of your sub sandwich. So I love that pickling recipe, and I don't always like the sourness of pickles. So I just chopped up some cucumbers, but not chopped them up, cut up some cucumbers and put them in that not dagon, that Korean pickling. And I want that. That's going to give me my sweet and savory on my sandwich. So, don't have me here talking about food. You know, I mess around, get stuck because I love food. Oh, I think I'm gonna finally post that video of the chili cook-off. Maybe I still gotta make it. I got another video I need to post, but I'm gonna try to post something. What's the day? Thursday? This weekend. Uh, I'm trying to get a consistent schedule with posting too. So wish me luck. So I do be going too many days, and every time I get my summary, it always be like, "You did 2 posts this in the last 30 days." I'm like, oh my God, maybe that's my problem. You know what I mean? I just be trying to live off these videos. Hey, you won't know what I think. You have to catch me live. All right, people. I see you Tuesday. I don't know what we're gonna talk about, but I do got one idea. What is that, right? Oh man, never mind. I'll save it for Tuesday. But yeah, I appreciate you joining me. I had a blast. Again, apologize about last week. I overslept. Glad I ain't oversleep this week because I almost did. That's my office. um, yeah. And see you people next week. Thanks, Michelle, for showing up. Peace.